Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Art, English and God. Today we're going to look at a very common proverb or way of saying as old as Adam. So we will be also analyzing the idea of Adam in this series, in this episode. And with that, we will see also the comparative of equality. So let's start with actually the word. Let's go to the, sorry. Topic 2, Adam, as old as Adam. The series, Art, English, and God, 3 words. This live video broadcast gives input on the topic of Adam through considerations of the English language, art, and God. Art is the conscious production or arrangement of elements in a visual form. English is the spoken or written words that are combined and understood through the grammar. Art and English are forms of communication. God is usually defined as a deity or a supernatural, immortal, supreme being. In this series, God is also used as a form of communication for the revelation of understanding art and English. So we have 3 levels. English, the most material level here at the bottom. Art, the most emotional level, and God, the most spiritual level. So those are the ideas. Let's begin. Okay, first of all, let's look at the etymology of the word. Adam is not an English word. It is a name, but not a word. It does exist in some languages, as we can see in the language Afar, which is an Afro-Asiatic language spoken in the Afar region. It's also from the language Azerbaijani language, the Kalasha language, which is Indo-Aryan language in Pakistan, Kavalan, Austronesian language from Taiwan, and we can also see it in Norwegian bokmål, which means the book tongue. This is the official written standard for the Norwegian language, preferred by 85 to 90% of the population in Norway. Okay, so looking closer at the Norwegian bokmål, the word Adam means certain properties of a person, often derived from the biblical story. Den gamle Adam is sinful human nature, literally the old Adam. And the second definition, Adam's drakt, or Adam's drakt, to be naked, literally Adam's costume. This is used in sayings and proverbs, for example, Hur lange var Adam I paradis. Happiness is often short-lived, which is literally how long was Adam in paradise. We also see the word in the other Norwegian language, the Norwegian Nynorsk, and in Turkish. Now, let's go from the etymology to the definition itself. And in order to do that, let's look at the Wiktionary entry for the word. Now, I am looking at no longer the word, but actually the name. This is the proper name, Adam. And it goes back from Middle English Adam, Old English Adam, goes back to Latin Adam, which was Adamus, and from ancient Greek Adam. And we see it in its Greek form also, Adamos. Going even further back, biblical Hebrew, Adam, earth, man, soil, or light brown or reddish color, we'll see that. Also Adamah, red earth, the ground. So there is some kind of connection between Adam and the earth. We have the pronunciation here. I hope you can listen to it this time. This is the UK.
Adam, Adam, Adam.
Adam, okay. It's a homophone. A homophone is a word that sounds exactly alike. And atom, the atom.
Adam.
Adam. So when you say it very quickly, it's the same. And what does it actually mean? Okay, from the word Adam, we have Abrahamic religions, the first man and the progenitor of the human race. A male given name from Hebrew. Figuratively, it's the original sin or human frailty. And number 4, with second or last, that means the second Adam or the last Adam, which means Jesus Christ, who sacrificed in Christian theology, makes possible the forgiveness of Adam's original sin. We see it also designating a neoclassical style of furniture and architecture in the style of Robert and James Adam. It's also a patronymic surname, English, Scottish, French, and German. So you'll see that, in fact, these two brothers, Robert and James Adam. Alternative forms, we have Adams, and then MacAdams, Macaw, MacAdams, Macaw. And the derived terms, okay, we have a lot of derived terms. These are quite interesting. You have, of course, Adam and Eve, Adamask, we'll see that later. Adamish, Adamite, Adamatism, Adam's ale. Adam's ale is related to Adam's wine, which is no more than just water. Adam's apple, the part of the throat that comes out. Adam's morsel, Adam's needle. Here's as old as Adam. We see this derivative here. It's a saying. And the other one, do not know someone from Adam, which we will not look at. But this is a pretty common saying also. It means that you just don't recognize someone at all. You don't know someone from Adam. It's a negative connotation. And that is the derived terms for Adam. And I just wanted to show also this one other entry. Okay, we have in the word reference, yes, it's the name of the first man, the husband of Eve. We have the Adam as a architecture, two architects. To not know from Adam, to not be acquainted from, and the old Adam tendency towards sin. And okay, so that is also from the word reference. So Adam and Eve is also Cockney. It's Adam and Eve is Cockney slang for believe. Cockney is a kind of a rhyming slang. I don't Adam and Eve it, which means I don't believe it. Cockney, we could do an entire series about Cockney. It's quite interesting, but very easy to misunderstand. Let's go to the actual saying. We have as old as Adam, which is a synonym. I think what I'm going to do is just, let's just see the full page here. It might be easier to see that way. As old as Adam, synonyms, Let's look at these synonyms. 258 words as old as Adam. And we can start to see how really common this saying is. It's as old as the hills, old as Methuselah. That's a humorous way of saying you're as old as Methuselah. Old as the hills, again, we see that. Older than dirt. Okay, this is going back to the connection with Adam and the earth, the Adam soil connection. Adam, as old as the world, as old as time, ancient, extremely old. These are all ways of expressing this concept. We also have some more examples in this website globally. Let me just get rid of this. Okay. The water supply is as old as Adam. No one can lay claim to it. Lay claim to it. That means that no one can say that it is their possession. You lay claim to something. The power of naming as old as Adam. And yes, naming people. If such things be old-fashioned, were as old as Adam. This is a fragment. The paper chase, as old as Adam, is costing both time and money. Paper chase is when you are just shuffling papers from one thing to another. Okay, so we also have, whoops, sorry. I have the actual pronunciation of the word from the Hebrew. Okay, so we have here we have Syrian Hebrew, Ashkenazi Hebrew, Yemenite, Sephardi, modern. So it's present in the language, and if you go back further, it's going back to Phoenician. We also see it in Ugaritic, in Old South Arabian, in the Ge'ez, Akkadian, really far back, the Akkadian language, going back to these ideas of man, but also earth, vassals, subjects, blood. Okay, we have Adamu, the red garment. These are interesting ties. You have Adam with blood. You have some connection here between blood, the red earth, red ochre, earthling, man, as blood is a main ingredient of humans, a blood sacrifice. These are all ideas that you can find through the connection with the Hebrew language, and I just wanted to play the two. Let's see, we have
Adam.
And this is to be read, you see, to be read.
Adam.
And in the other word, which is man or mankind, listen to the difference.
Adam.
Adam, a little more stress on the second syllable. Okay, let me just get rid of this. We're getting a major slowdown, but that's okay. All right, as old as Adam. Let's look at some more of these idioms. As old as Adam's, humorous, very old, an allusion to Adam, the first human created by God in the Bible. Oh, she's as old as Adam. She's old as Adam. She can't hear us. Why don't we ever sing new songs? These hymns are as old as Adam. Hymns, church music. She had a phonograph when she was a child. She must be as old as Adam. Okay, those are some phrases that you can see, and we've seen as old as the hills. He must be as old as Adam by now. That joke is as old as the hills. So once again, you have the tie with Adam and the earth. So let's look at the word, the sentence. What structure is this? This is a comparative. We have an equality of comparison. We have the first item, and then a verb, and then as, adjective, as, and then the second item. It's as good as you can get for the price. It, verb, is, first item, it, verb, is, as, good, good is the adjective, as, and then you have the second term, you can get for the price. Let's look at the adverb also. You have the first item, verb, and then as, adverb, as, and then the second item. We've finished as quickly as we could. So we is the, we've finished is the first, we finished, we is the first item. And then as quickly as we could. We're really comparing the idea of we finishing and we could. We can also use as in the equality expression. The first item plus the verb plus as plus quantity expression. And then as again, second item. There are as many people as there were last year. Okay, this is a very, very tricky structure, especially because we'll see that you can also use it as inequality. Okay, so two things are not equal. We have not as plus the adjective and then again as. The first item mentioned is less than the second item. The order of items is opposite to the comparison with comparative adjectives. Okay, so we'll see that analyzing. As, adjective, as, let's look at this with not. This one is not as big as the old one. So the older one is bigger than this one. You see, bigger is the comparative, and I am comparing the first one with the second one, and the old one is bigger. But when I say it using the negative, this one isn't as big as the old one. I have to change the order of the items. That also is the same as adverb as. It doesn't work as well as we'd hoped. What we had hoped works better than this. You see, so it's exactly the opposite. What we had hoped is the first item, and using the normal comparative, this comes before this. It doesn't work as well as we'd hope. Using the as quantity expression plus as, she doesn't know as much about it as he does. He knows more about it than her. Okay, so she doesn't know is being compared with what he knows, and she doesn't know as much about it as he does, so he knows more. This is really, really difficult. There's a logical twist here. Adam, as old as Adam, comparative. We also have equality and inequality, the verb as well as. This structure can be used to compare actions. Sonia closed the contract as well as her senior colleague. The action of closing the contract was done equally well between Sonia and her colleague. So I'm using this as equality. Michael didn't pay as well this week as he did last week. He didn't play, sorry. Michael played better last week than he did this week. Just like the other, when you are using inequality, the item Michael played better, he didn't play as well as he did last week. Okay, so last week. All right, Adam, comparative, we also have equality and inequality. As plus a quantity expression plus as, this structure can be used to compare expressions of quantity such as much and many. We earned as much money as last year. So the earnings were the same in the last 2 years, as much money. And you could also eliminate money. We earned as much as last year because you earn money, probably. Caroline has as many friends as her classmate Tom. Tom and Caroline have the same quantity of friends. This phone doesn't have as many features as the other one. Okay, here's the negative. The other phone has more features, so it's the second item actually. This phone doesn't have as many features as the other one. My ticket didn't cost as much as yours, as much money, like I said before. Your ticket cost more than mine, so you're actually inverting the idea of the comparative here. Also, you can use such with these noun phrases. You can use the structure not, such, noun phrase, as compares things using noun phrases. The journey to London doesn't take such a long time as it used to. Okay, the journey to London used to take longer, so it does not take such a long time as it used to. That's a mouthful. It's difficult. I don't have such an interesting job as Julia. Julia has a more interesting job than I do. See, I do not have such an interesting job as Julia. Yeah, such is just reinforcing here, but you can see how it's used. All right, now we have a couple of other words you can use besides such. You can modify with especially adverbs with nearly, quite, nowhere near. Nowhere near. That's really difficult to understand. When we want to show that there is a big or a small difference between the things being compared, we can use the adverbs nearly, nowhere near, and quite. Let's see. First of all, emphasizing a big difference. England isn't nearly as big as Russia. So it is not as big. Russia is bigger, but Russia is really very much bigger than England. So I can say England isn't nearly as big as Russia. England is nowhere near as big as Russia. Russia is much bigger than England. And I can emphasize a small difference. My shoes didn't cost quite as much as yours. Your shoes cost a little more than mine. So when we use quite before as much as, it's emphasizing a small difference. Inequality, modifying with nearly, quite, nowhere near. These are just more examples. Emphasizing a big difference. Setting up a business isn't nearly such a complicated process now as it used to be. Setting up a business is nowhere near such a complicated process now as it used to be. So what I'm saying is that setting up a business used to be a much more complicated process than it is now. So what am I comparing? I'm comparing the processes, right? Setting up as a process now and setting up as a process in the past. And I'm saying that it is a complicated process. So really the idea is the comparison of the complicated process. If I want to emphasize a small difference, my flat isn't quite as big as Jenny's. Jenny's flat is a little, a bit, or slightly bigger than mine. The journey didn't take quite as long as it did last time. The journey took a little, a bit, or slightly longer than last time. Okay. Let's look at, these are some quizzes if you want to do these. There are some quizzes that I found that they're not easy. Decide if the statements with as are true or false. The moon isn't as far as the sun. Okay, you see, you have to think a little bit. There are 40 of these, and the other one, I think, is here. Yeah, you have the hotel isn't as expensive as the last one we stayed at. This hotel is cheaper than the last one we stayed at. Okay, do these two sentences mean the same, or do they have different meanings? Okay, there's just some quizzes here if you want. You can do those. Test your knowledge. Okay, let's look at the art. We're moving from English to art. We saw in the definition Robert and James Adam. James, 1730 to 94, and his brother Robert, 1728. Robert is the younger brother. No, I'm sorry, James is the younger brother. English architects and furniture designs. They have a name for this. It's called Adamesque. So it's a form of architecture, a style of architecture with furniture pertaining to the style of the architecture, decoration, or furnishings associated with Robert and James Adam, characterized by free adaptation of ancient Roman forms and interiors treated with delicate ornament, generally painted in light, vivid colors. Okay, I just have one example of this. This is a fireplace, or what was called also a fire, and you can see that it's quite delicate, very classical. This is from the Otis House in Boston, by the way. Okay, we couldn't really talk about Adam without looking at this wonderful fresco from Michelangelo, or Michelangelo, as you might want to pronounce. The Italian creation of Creazione di Adamo is a fresco painting by the Italian artist Michelangelo, which forms part of the Sistine Chapel's ceiling, painted between 1508 and 1512. It illustrates the biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. Okay, and you can see here that Adam is portrayed very much with the land. You see, the earth has the same pattern. The hills, old as the hills, remember? And so we see this, and it's quite common. Okay, here's a less common figure. This is from The Usefulness of Animals by Ibn Bakhtishu. This book is a description of superstitious beliefs in the use of animals for medicinal purposes. So this is we can say maybe Persian, a Persian manuscript, painting by Manafi al-Hayawan, depicting Adam and Eve, 1295 or 1299. And you can see that they are surrounded by green and also animals, the paradise idea. The expulsion of Adam and Eve, this is from the Falnama, the Book of Omens. It's ascribed to Jafar al-Sadiq from 1550, from the Safavid dynasty, also this in Iran, probably Persian. It's a book of omens used by fortune tellers in Iran, India and Turkey during the 16th and 17th centuries. Individuals seeking insight into the future would engage in a series of purification rituals, turn to a random page in the Falnama and interpret the text and drawings thereon for good or ill. A little bit like the I Ching. Many of the paintings depict Ali, who was considered the first Shi Imam and central to the Safavid Empire's state ideology. Ali is depicted with a flaming halo, which we can see here. I think this is him. which was a technique of the pre-existing Zoroastrian art in Iran. So we have also older traditions. Here's an interesting image of Adam and Eve depicted in a mural, Abraha wa Atzbeha Church in Ethiopia. So the figures typical, we have just after the really just before the fall, they are understanding that they are nude, and so they become embarrassed. Okay, now in Islam, Adam is the father of humanity, is looked upon by Muslims with reverence. The creation of Adam and Eve is referred to in the Quran. Gnostic Christianity, Adam and Eve, in two known surviving texts, the Apocalypse of Adam, found in the Nag Hammadi documents, the Testament of Adam, and Adam as pro-anthropos, the original man. That's the focal concept in Gnostic Christianity. Other Gnostic traditions, we see Adam and Eve were created to help defeat Satan. The serpent is a hero by the Ophites. Satan's fall came after the creation of humanity. Satan refused to bow to Adam due to his pride. This is also from an Islamic tradition. Satan said that Adam was inferior to him. Satan was made of fire, Adam was made of clay. This refusal led to the fall of Satan. This comes from the book of Enoch, which is Gnostic tradition. In Mandaism, God created all the worlds, formed the soul through his power, placed power through angels into the human body, and thus created Adam and Eve, the first man and woman. In the Judeo-Christian belief, Adam and Eve are the Bible's first man and first woman. Adam's name appears first in Genesis 1 with a collective sense as mankind, and then we see him in Genesis 2 and 3. It carries the definite article ha, equivalent to the English the, indicating that this is the man. God fashions Ha-Adam, the man, from earth, Adamah, and we saw those two words earlier. He breathes life into his nostrils, and then he makes him a caretaker over creation. So here we see in Genesis 1, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Okay, this is a very difficult text to interpret. We can see all kinds of interpretations. Genesis 2, instead, the Lord God took the man, and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Here we are already with the man. Contrary to what is suggested by the translations of the Bible, the term Adam is extremely widespread and has a wide range of meanings. When using this word, Hebrews probably are not thinking of the first man, because the account of creation from which the expression comes is very ambiguous. Adam certainly designates the idea of the first man, except in 5 passages. Okay, we will look at a couple of these passages. In Genesis 4:25, Adam made love to his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth. Okay, making love to his wife, this obviously is a personification. It's the term of the person of Adam, the first man and the first woman. In Genesis 5, this is the written account of Adam's family line. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness. So here again we have Adam's family line. This is the genitive Saxon, the line of Adam. So we're referring to Adam as a person here. Usually the term is rendered with man in general. Okay, in the rest of the Bible we can see this kind of idea of man who is born of woman, is of few days and full of trouble. Okay, this is from Job. Man who is born of woman is of few days and full of trouble. In Isaiah, we have the idea of the people. The Lord has moved men far away, and the forsaken places are many in the midst of the land. Men, in this case, referring to people, we have the word Adam. Ecclesiastes, someone. For what can the man do who succeeds the king? What can someone do? And in Zechariah, we have the idea of one. But he will say, I am no prophet, I am a farmer, for a man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. So we have the idea of one. A man, one, someone, one. And there's also the idea of no one or nobody. In Kings, the first book of the Kings, when they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin. No one is the word Adam. In the Psalms, we have nobody. He allowed no one to oppress him. No one here is the idea. And in Hosea, the human being, I led them with cords of human kindness, with ties of love. So you can see that the collective sense of this word clearly dominates the idea in the Bible, in the Judeo-Christian. And you can see all of the links here in the last page. And so we have, just to recapitulate, it's the idea of Adam. You're as old as Adam. Not a very nice thing to say, but that is a very, very common English proverb, English saying. And we analyzed as, old as. So that is a simple structure, but you see how you can become very, very complicated with that, very advanced. And that's also something you can look at. And nice pictures. So I hope to see you again. Don't forget other videos, and you can follow this interesting broadcast. Thank you for being